Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Banished Bird Films BTS discussion. I'm Leanne, and I'm here with fellow producers Sonja and Jessica to talk to you about the behind the scenes of this film. Our 2 year journey that started with a couple of Zoom calls, a dream, and ends with a premiere of our very first feature film, June 18th. This BTS video is for anyone who's ever wanted to make a movie, collaborate with friends, or figure it out as you go. We're going to talk about what it really took to get here on a shoestring budget, a ton of heart, and our three core values: collaboration, fun, and learning. So, whether you're a filmmaker, a creative, or just curious how indie movies get made, you're in the right place. And if you want to support local films and see the final result of everything we're talking about, join us at the premiere on June 18th. Details are in the show notes and on our socials. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's talk about how we pulled this off. Hello, hello. We'll start with Sonia for introductions. Please introduce yourself and kind of give us some of what titles, what hats you
Oh,
wore.
there's so many hats, but I think the main ones, I wrote this, so I was the writer, the director, executive producer. I helped with props. Maybe I should just stop there. Those were the three, the big ones because we all wore so many hats that we'd be here forever if we were to list every role we all had. So
Thank you, Sonia. Jessica.
Fabulous. Yeah, I produced, I sorted out some locations, did about a third of the sound recording, and I'm doing post sound as well. So that's been wonderful. And yourself, Leanne.
I am also a producer. I was the key grip slash gaffer, and I did acting and I helped in the editing process as well. So, as per tradition, I am on notes here. So, how did we get here? Let's look back to the beginning, everyone. It's about two years ago is when this started. So, Sonia, how did this start?
oh, that's the that's the question. How did this
Oh,
start?
yeah.
I don't know I don't remember the exact time frame, but Leanne and I were heading up the Prima. She was the president, I was the vice president, and just over the course of that work that we did, we got to talking about our goals and our ambitions and our dreams, and kind of decided that if either of us were really ever going to have a feature film under our belt, we had to push it through ourselves. So we just kind of, I think that the thought that went into it was, we should just do it ourselves. Let's just give it a go. Let's see how far we could take it. And yeah, what do you have to say, Leanne?
I was gonna say, I remember when we first started, I remember you were telling me that you wanted to make a feature film and that you had reached out to, I think it was maybe one or a few companies with different script ideas, and that you had certain things on the go, and it just never seemed to go anywhere. And that's when we were like, well, I have most of the equipment, and you have everything that we need. Like together, we
Yeah,
could make
a
it
whole,
without issue.
yeah.
And then it was the two there was two scripts.
Yes. So the first script, it's a pretty personal story. We decided to just go for that one. I think because it was in the process of us talking about this, that for me had just come in, that script had just come in second place in a province-wide script contest. So I was feeling pretty good about myself because that doesn't always happen to me. So I kind of knew that that script had something to it. People would have likely enjoyed that story. So I shared that script with Leanne, and she, I guess, agreed. And so we kind of moved forward with that one. But then in the process of like just breaking down the script, just like that preliminary work that you do, like, oh, what kind of locations could we possibly even get? How many cast members do we need? All the stuff I think, quickly discovered how out like it was too big in scope. Kind of no matter how small of a story we thought that it was just it was too much for us to do with our zero budget that we had for this. So out of that came, I had this other script that I had written fairly recently at the time, which is now called Tough Love. And I just had looked at it and I had shared it with Leanne, and it's a single location. It has very few characters in it. It's kind of it's not horror, it's thriller. So you can lean into the limitations that you have. Surrounding you when you're making a film. And we just, yeah, I think that's when we were like, yeah, this is something that we can actually do. It's also a personal story to me, but it's also a story that I was I was okay with using as like a testing ground, as like we're amateurs. It's okay if this isn't I don't want to say if it's not good, because we really did mean
Perfect.
100. Yes, perfect. Done is better. So it was kind of used as a testing ground, and it was okay for however it turned out, because we just wanted to see what we could do with it. So that's when we then decided to move forward with what is now Tough Love.
But what was it originally named?
It was originally called Booty Call, and if I slip into that, I apologize, because I've given up that name. It really doesn't mean
Huh?
anything.
Huh?
But I think because so many of the jokes and the memories are so tied up in that name, that it's like it's wormed in there. So Booty Call is Tough Love, but it is Tough Love. So I will try to
Tough Love
correct.
is booty call. Um, yeah, and I remember specifically with the script. What was oh wait, should we even talk about? No, we're not going to. You're right. You guys are totally right that I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so when we first started, like you kind of went through, we did some script breakdowns, and we figured that one probably wasn't going to work. I remember a lot of phone calls about how we both really enjoyed that story and wanted to make sure we were able to do it a lot of justice, and that's why like when we went with this film, we were like, let's do some pillars, and that's why I think we came up with collaboration, learning, and fun, because we were like, that's what we want this film to be about, like behind the scenes is those three things. Now, I had never met Jessica before. So, at what point did Jessica come into this film? How did that happen? And Jessica, after no. First question, and then I'll get to Jessica's question. So, when did she come in and why?
I think it was February-ish. So the timeline
Uh,
might be a bit busy.
yeah, I feel like it was, we kind of started talking about it in October,
Oh,
like around that around that time frame, because then we started basically from what I remember. So you and I had served on Prima together before. That's where I met you, Sonia. And then I do vaguely remember, um, helping out with the 48 competition with the both of you. And then maybe it was in October, maybe it was closer to that February time frame, because I think that the competition was in October. And then you and I had started talking about the competition and the script, and I had offered to do a bit of an analysis on it for you. And knowing my busy schedule, I got like halfway through and then dropped the ball. But I had seen enough of it to go like, holy crap! Like this woman has actually a really solid story structure, and I'm loving these characters. And so we got into talking about it, and then you'd mentioned that you had, you know, goals to actually film this thing, and I remember it was kind of a bulldozer effect. Like I asked you for the dates and I said, "Okay, when are we doing this?" And you said, "Okay, let's just pick this date." And I was like, "Okay." And then I started plowing through and started reaching out for locations. And so I feel like I kind of strong armed you into booking some things.
well,
So Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. It all worked out. A big part of that, like picking the first day of filming, was securing that first location. So
Yes, you're right.
that the community hall was the first. I had been reaching out to people because you just have to. That's obviously the job. So you just reach out to any of the halls, any of the. I think I was only focusing on the community halls. Because at the time that scene was a lot bigger than it currently is in this final film. So we needed that location secured. And so the one that we got, the Saskatoon Lake Community Hall, was the very first community hall who reached back to me and were like, "Yeah, we'd love to support you and we'd love to help you out." So, but then they needed a date. So, and at this point, I don't think that we had solidified really anything really. Like I don't even know, I don't even remember when this was happening, but it's like, okay, so let's just pick a date and then we have something to build out on. So I think that's
Yeah.
uh, August 13th, and they were very accommodating, and it obviously, again, it ended up working out very great. But yeah, I guess you were instrumental in like pushing for the locations because obviously without locations, you can't do anything.
Oh, I think it was just funny because yeah, once you told me that that first date had been booked, it's like, okay, I'll find a house. And then it happened. We found some really lovely people out in the glass to basically gift us their property for 10 days, which is insane. So that was really, really awesome. Beautiful house.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Um, how many houses did we end up looking at? What was it, three?
It was three. Yeah. I think we wanted four, but then one of them, like, because of the locations of all these things, it just wasn't going to work to get to like we went
Yeah.
north and then going all the way south. It was just maybe taking too much time. So, and I think we maybe fell in love with that first one and then
I
didn't.
was I was skeptical about that first one, because it was so nice.
Yeah.
And for
Mm-hmm.
the script, I was like, well, I was hoping for something more aged and broken down. And we went to that one house, but it was a working farm and they would be on it while filming. And we were like, well, that logistically is more tricky.
Yeah.
I liked that house for the script
Hmm.
better than the house that we were in, but
Yeah.
only because I'm a big fan of like a working farm aesthetic for the
Yes.
script and just like we had to dirty things up in this house, which is probably easier than cleaning things up in certain aspects. Like now that I think about it, but my first gut instinct was what look at this sink. Like I
I
can't afford this sink.
And that just kind of, I think, goes to show you, like, yeah, things have to change. Like it is obviously a lot better to have a location where we can leave all of our equipment and not have to worry about the working aspect of that farm. It does kill me that it's like, yeah, there's supposed to be poverty-stricken family, and it's like the nicest house you've ever seen. So those are just kind of the things that you have to we don't have the resources, so you have to kind of like
We
hopefully
have to
just
take the nicer option.
yeah, we have to take the nicer option.
Or
Yeah, for
it was
sure.
more accommodating one because like you said, being able to leave the equipment there and also have access to the house for 10 straight days um
Hmm.
Yeah.
was wildly exactly what we needed. So that was
Yeah,
fantastic.
and with
It,
them not having any kids as well, it took some of the complication out of it. And the other house, I feel, would have been a very tight fit for the things that we wanted to film. It would have been tough to get some of the shots that we wanted.
Yeah.
So that was kind of
They
the
had a
upside of
long
the other
kitchen
house.
though, because they had that
Yes, that's true.
open kitchen, dining room, other room. I can't remember the
Hmm.
third house, but I'm almost certain we went to three, but I only remember the two. But moving on, because the house is just a small part of this.
right.
But I want to break this into three sections, and we're going to start with collaboration. How did we divvy up responsibilities and lean on each other? Because I think that a lot of this, like before Jessica got involved and strong-armed us into actually making this 100% a reality, we were talking. We were talking for. a good 6 to 7 months, I think, before Jessica came on. Mind you, there was a lot of prep that we needed to do before, you want to bring other people into to a reality that is an indie film. But how did that go? Because when was our first all three of us meeting? Because did we did Zoom phone calls? Like, I know we all met kind of diagonally and like, but when was our first like all three of us?
I feel like it must have been
Was it
just
the
before we
actors?
started booking locations.
Oh, okay. I was like, was it GPLT like when people were doing auditions?
'Cause that was end of no, that was February 10th actually, because we did auditions on my birthday, so February 10th. So it
So
would
it
have
would have
had
been then,
that, or
right?
was that
Mm,
y'all met?
Because Amy was there. That would have
Yes.
been my first time like us all working together on this project.
yeah, probably like all at the same location.
Okay, okay, okay. Now, I don't think that we had too many conversations about how things were going to go. We just started falling into different places,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Sounds
we just kind of, well, yeah, I mean, we all have different fields of experience, so it was like, okay, well, I know how to fill out an application for, insurance, and Leanne, you started recruiting and equipment and for crew, and then Sonja, you were reaching out for funding, and so it was, I mean, both of you did reach out for funding, so I mean, I feel like there was a lot behind the scenes that happened when we weren't chatting consistently. But yeah, I feel like I came in at a very privileged time because I didn't have to go through, the initial story prep and stuff, which is something that I normally do, have at least some experience with when, from start to finish. So yeah, that was a really interesting experience for me coming in when some of that was already done. So that was really cool.
I love that. I have a question. So there in this last 2 years, we've had moments of tension. Now in those or the challenges, how did we solve those issues?
conversation when it got to the point where we had to there would bleh, conversation ultimately like
Yeah.
we I think missed a lot of the signs and probably absolutely should have had conversations a lot sooner than we should have. But when we did have those conversations, they were really in the yeah in like the months prior to filming, we would meet up because yeah, I guess it's not easy to have those conversations because I don't live in Grand Prairie, so I was coming to
Mhm.
Grand Prairie, so I don't know if we were subconsciously like saving these conversations for when we were in person or just straight up avoiding it or really what kind of was going on. But we had a lot of those, I guess, more serious conversations in person. And it usually led to like a reset. We were able to re establish like our expectations and to kind of like blow off steam, I guess. I don't know if those are the right words to say any of that in, but yeah, that's kind of yeah, just the communication.
Yeah. It's weird sometimes when I'm like, because I wrote this thing and I'm like, I know I'm one of the people. So it feels kind of weird asking the question while also doing the thing. But I would agree. Like when you're going into any project that is a long amount of time and there's going to be a divvying of different responsibilities, knowing the expectations is very basic level what needs to be established. Like when you're making an indie film and you have multiple people wearing similar hats, you don't want to be doing double work, and you definitely don't want to be doing but what if you both hate the same thing and you're just like, oh, they'll do that, you know? Communication is obviously a very important aspect, and being able to collaborate is crucial to the success and also the longevity of your working relationship because 2 years. I mean, that's what we're at right now. Um, and
I
that's 2 years of like a lot of communication. Like that's a lot of words that you have between because like Sonia, Jessica and I, we've all been doing this now solidly, and we've been communicating like I know it died down a little bit, like because it ebbs and flows, but there were
Yeah.
times where we were talking almost every day for a few months.
Yeah.
And so like if you're going to be doing a project at this scale, that's something you have to be keep mindful of is sometimes like there are planning phases where you're gonna have to talk for like months at a time, and you're gonna have to be able to do that effectively. And so if you're going into a partnership with someone, you got to be clear.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Yeah.
say, like, I think there was several times where we tried to like physically write down like what are the roles, what are the expectations, but they're so slippery. Like, there's just so much that we were all doing that it felt like it became this like it was almost impossible to define, but having that clear definition, having clear and concise language, I think it helps in all sorts of issues where conflict could come up.
Yeah. And I think that, having social media and electronic forms of communication is a blessing and a curse, because it is so easy to communicate with each other. And it's very easy to send a message at 2 in the morning when everybody else is sleeping, but you're awake and you're like, oh man, I forgot this thing. Okay, let's send that. But it also means that tension, if there is tension, builds up quicker, because then, if your schedules don't match, you're missing each other. And if they do match up, then you're consistently talking, and it's not just having a weekly or even like a semi-weekly schedule of all meeting up in person and communicating. You are basically, for lack of a better term, bedfellows for 2 years trying to get this crazy intricate project done. And yeah, it's absolutely insane how much we communicate. I mean, and we'll continue to communicate until everything is kind of through, right? And films are so ongoing. I mean, I love the acting side of things, but being on producer side, like we never truly let go of that project. So we have a fully different experience from like somebody who's just post, somebody who's just an actor, and it wears on you quite a bit as you go through. So checking in with your teammates and making sure that you're all still on the same page is absolutely crucial.
Um, for the collaboration portion, in your opinions, and I can go first, y'all let me know. What was the most difficult part you felt collaborating on? Like in your own personal opinion. Um, and I'll go first because I wrote these, so I've had time to think. Uh, for me, the most difficult part about like, sorry, I'm gonna pick the struggle with the final scene.
Mm.
And this was a technical, there's a lot of different things. I shouldn't say the final scene because it's not the final scene. The final scene is beautiful and I love every single thing about it. It's like scene, what is it, 81
Yeah. Oh, the
or
long one.
80? The
Yeah.
long one. And for me, oh, sorry.
I just called it the scene from hell.
Yeah. And I think I had it because doing some of the shot list before starting and like you said, being like in and going through the stuff for as long as we did, you can sometimes get narrow when you're looking at things. And I was looking at it from a purely technical side of things. And I came at that and I was like, this is not going to happen. We need to change the whole scene. And obviously that's not a collaboration spiritual thing. Like it should have been attacked a lot differently. It should have been approached a lot more gently. And I was a little bit worried about it and I got zoned in because I was rereading it and trying to think out like in my head I'm like physically as somebody who's done a lot of camera operating, I was like we're not gonna like this is gonna be extremely physically demanding on our camera operator. It's gonna be extremely demanding on our actors, and I was just like, I don't think that we'll be able to do it. And I started spiraling before speaking about the things, and I was just like, we gotta cut it by 75%. And I think that's almost exactly how I came to you guys. I was just like, listen, and we did it over dinner, and I was just like, this it needs to be cut like 75. This is what I propose. And I would say, out of the movie experience, for me, that was the hardest one because when you go in, like I was going in from a technical side, and I was like, I could not see a way around it, other than this way. And obviously, that's not how you want to go into any conversation, is like being sure that what you're bringing in is the way. But I was nervous for like the camera operator, for like all these different things, and I didn't. I'm gonna say I didn't articulate that in the most diplomatic way. But that for me was my personal like collaboration issue, like especially, and this was before shooting for people. We were still doing the shot list, and all the other shot lists I think were one half a page long, like things like that. This one scene, we had a script breakdown, and it was like 6 pages, which was like
Because the
three
script,
times.
those pages, I think it was like an 8-page scene.
Yeah.
Like I 100% agree. And like even reading through it, like so as the writer, I maybe no one will believe me. So I accept that people might not believe me, but I 100% knew that that was too long. And like I actually tried really hard to get it down because obviously that's a freaking long, like,
Yeah.
again, you can choose not to believe me, but that is a scene that I did also struggle with writing. And just yeah, with the collaboration, it's like it's I don't even know where to go with it, but like I agree 100%. Obviously that was too long, and like even the way that it was approached, probably like I know I never want to be one of those writers who's like precious with my words, and like I still don't want to like admit that maybe that was the case also, but perhaps having it kind of like smacked in the face was like, it's the kickstart you need really to like this is not going to work. You have to adjust it. So it's like, yeah, we cut, and it was still one of the more difficult scenes to film, I think,
It
for
was.
other various reasons that maybe we can get into later.
Yeah.
But yeah, we absolutely stripped it down to like its parts, I think, in the end.
Yeah, because when Lawrence and I were sitting down, we came up with a 2 page option from 8, which obviously Lawrence and I are not writers. It's not what we do. However, we've both been telling stories for quite a long time, and we were like, this. With no warning. Obviously, him and I were chit-chatting about this and trying to figure out creative solutions for it. But Sonja, in the end, how long was the scene?
I think it might have been 4.
It
I
was
don't
four
remember.
pages.
Was it
I was
4?
gonna
Okay.
say, yeah, half
Yeah.
probably.
It was half for it went from 8 to 4, and I think that it ended up working out really well. But like throughout the whole process, I think when I think back to a moment where I was like, how could I like what could I have done better in that situation? That's the one that rings true for me, is like approaching that a little bit differently, because I was being very, I'm gonna say, dramatic about the whole thing, because I was like, we can't like this, and it's an important scene, and
I
you know.
think warrants that kind of concern too. Like you don't want to leave an important scene like that and then get there, and like, and as it was four pages, we were already struggling to get that in just with the time frame that we had for it. So it's, yeah, that's collaboration. You need to smack the writer down and say like, no, you don't need to explain all of these things that you think you need to explain. Just cut it out because that's not the point of it. So
And
it's
then Jessica needs to smack me down and say, you're being a little dramatic. 2 pages is a bit insane. Because I do think, like, during dinner, that might have been said.
I mean, I don't think I used the word dramatic.
No, God, no. I don't think that you would ever say it, but I think you said, let's come up with a compromise. I think is what you
I,
said. And like maybe we'll
that
meet in the
sounds
middle.
more like me. Although, if I do have the license to say dramatic now, I'll gladly use that.
Always. If it's in a kind way, I always take that nicely. I am a
Oh,
dramatic person.
oh goodness, no, you guys are good. But yeah, no, that was it was a productive dinner. Absolutely. That was probably one of our longest meetings where we ended up talking in person about the story, and I feel like we walked away from that feeling good about the direction that we were going because I want to say that we were what a month out at
Yeah.
that point. So it was good timing. It was good timing to adjust things. Ultimately, um, it was before we'd done our combat workshops with the actors, so we could adjust things as necessary. Um, I think that in the future, being able to sit down with a stunt coordinator or somebody like Clint, who did a fabulous job with our actors and really focuses on safety. And I think that having someone like him there on the day if his schedule allows for it, which it didn't this time, unfortunately, but having him there on the day, but also consulting maybe on those parts of the script because then we can go in with a better idea of how to shoot it going into those scenes, which I think would be really cool in the future. So having the main story laid out and then having that conversation with somebody like him saying, hey, this is what we have in mind. Do you think that is any of this unsafe? Is there ways that we can elevate the combat to make it look really cool? And then yeah, have that conversation with the technical team as well. I think that personally for me, when it comes to struggling with collaboration, I have a really hard time delegating. So the tasks, like honestly, I really wish that I would have delegated a little bit more in terms of like driving things out to you guys and just trying to I wish that I would have taken more time off work first of all because that did not do wonders for my mental health because yeah, like going out there immediately after work was not the greatest decision. I wish that I would have just taken the time off so that I could have been there with you the whole time because then I feel like as a producer, it was my responsibility to be there with you guys and be helping out 100% of the time. So and I had a very hard time delegating any tasks to anybody else on set and just wanted to be there myself. So I struggled with that personally, and that's more of an internal thing. Um, and it may have come out of my personality in the last few days of the shoot where it's like Jessica's frustrated. I wonder why. I'm not sure, but if I came across as a bag, that's probably what.
I don't think that you
But
did.
yeah, yeah, we'll see. I'll see how everybody else feels. Maybe they'll comment on this video and be like, "Yeah, Jessica was kind of a jerk the last few days."
I think that you were pretty much a delight, and it was nice having John on set as well when he came out because it was just nice. Not that everyone else on set wasn't amazing to be around, but it
Oh
was
yeah,
nice when
everybody
we
else
got
was great too.
visitors. Sonia,
Uh, can you repeat the question for me?
what was the most challenging uh, collaboration?
Um, I guess maybe this is exactly what Jessica just said, but I think I might have taken on too much and expected more out of myself and more out of everybody else. Like everybody has their own lives, and the collaboration, like, oh, this is going to be rambling. Not because I don't struggle with collaboration. Obviously, everybody kind of does. Maybe it's just hard to pinpoint the one thing because it's yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. And so that's a bad answer, and it's not because I think I was perfect. Not at all. Absolutely not. It's just right at this moment, the collaboration. Maybe it was just on the script. Maybe because and sorry, you were saying something?
No, if you have something, I was going to say I can rephrase it to say, what's a piece of advice that you would have for a filmmaker going into a collaborative like relation like partnership? Because
Right.
if you
Okay.
can't, yeah, like because that's what the
Okay.
whole thing is about.
Yeah, so I would the piece of advice, I guess, is in the organization of all of the information that we had. There were times where I felt confused about who was doing what, and I wasn't clear in asking for help, and I wasn't clear in asking for to rephrase what was being asked of me and what I was asking of people. I guess it just felt like oh, I don't understand that, so I'm going to just keep doing it this way and hopefully it works. And then that obviously is not the right way. You probably shouldn't just bulldoze your way through doing things, regardless, maybe of what the outcome is. Yeah, just organizing all the information and being able to, for me, having things in writing is very helpful for me to be able to see this is what was asked of me, this is what I asked of somebody, this is like the dates, the times, kind of getting maybe clinical with it of like this is the outcome of that. I think because a lot of what this work is builds on the answers that you get from all the people. To be able to continue moving forward, you have to remember what people say, and I maybe don't have that great of a memory, so I have to like re-answer the question. And it's so yeah, I would say a piece of his advice would be to figure out a clear and concise way to organize all of the information that you have to sift through, because there's so much to do. And if you drop something, you're kind of letting, this might be dramatic, but like you're letting your team down. And it's like, I don't want to let my team down. So then you maybe go a bit crazy. But if it's written down, then this is when things need to happen. This is why things need to happen. So
No, that was perfect. Perfect and beautiful.
excellent.
We're gonna move on to the second pillar, which is fun. So, Sonja, in your opinion, as the director, who was the goofiest on set?
That feels like maybe not, I don't know. Rogan, I think but I also was around him more often
No,
because
you're right.
writing
It's
is also
Rogan. He's weird.
so, and John Mark and Lucas, like Lucas
Goofy.
once did, pardon?
Goofy.
What did I say?
No, I'm just saying, like, the goofiest person.
Goofiest person? Yeah, I'd say Rogan.
Yeah. What's the goofiest thing he did?
Oh, I don't know. He does this weird thing like where he's like turns into like a creepy and he like creeps people out. I don't know if he did that to anyone else, but it was weird and creepy and it was goofy and it was just like very much normal for him, but like very weird. But also Lucas did I don't remember what song he was singing, but he was like doing the catwalk and like flipping his hair and being just so fun.
Yes.
And so if you know what Lucas looks like, him acting like that, like out of nowhere, I want to say that he was singing like Shania Twain, like I feel like a woman or something like that, and like strutting through this disgusting barn, looking like he did, and just absolutely nailing that like persona. And it came out of nowhere, and then it disappeared, and it's like, did I just see that? Like what just happened? So
Yeah.
that was pretty goofy.
And
What do you?
who's this? I don't know. I would say Rogan. It's an easy one for me. He was like, if we're using the word goofy, 100%, no doubt in my mind, Rogan. Um,
The
he's
amount of times I had to tell him to get out of a tree
yeah.
was too many times.
I he would always just do weird stuff with his body and contort and like I remember when he was like, it'd be fun, and then he like kind of was upside down, and like, two people were just holding his feet, and he was just like, ooh, upside down, and he was like, take my picture with it. And so I remember that pretty vividly. I was just like, whose first idea is to go upside down on a dirty barn floor that is dirty, a used barn, like there is crap on the floor, and he's just like all in it. And I was just like, what a goofy guy.
Committed to the role.
He did commit to that role.
Yes.
Um, so I'll start with Jessica. What was the funnest moment that you had on set? I know that how many days on set were you?
Oh gosh.
3 or 4?
I feel like I did sound for 3 or 4, and then I was there for the initial weekend. And I was there doing behind the scenes for I think a couple more evenings. All in all, to be honest, I can't remember how many days I was out there for. It feels like a lot, but it also feels like not enough. Um, but I think that the most hilarious moment that I remember on set was from our initial weekend. And I'm sorry, Lawrence, I'm going to out you, but remember when he was uh, chasing our tiny Rogan around, tiny Ridley, and like I can't remember how that sequence of events happened, but he got like stuck on a tree and then he farted and it was like a whole thing. And then I had it on camera as well, and they caught the noise on the microphone. It was wild. And I think that we had to take a 10-minute break because we were all laughing so hard.
I remember because I was directly behind him trying to make sure that he wouldn't fall, and if he fell, to protect him and the camera, and he farted right on me. It was a bonding moment that I'll never forget. Moving forward, I felt zero guilt farting in a car with Lawrence. I was like, you have farted on me. So I do remember we laughed about you, right? We had to take like a 10-minute break after that. And it
Yeah,
was such a
that was
serious,
wild.
it was a dream sequence with like different things. That was very funny. Um,
Yeah.
And
that's
we like
good.
it was on the first day too, so it's like we
Yes,
all
it was.
knew each other. We all like didn't. It was like a good. Now we definitely know each other. Now we're a team. Not as much as you and him because I certainly didn't.
Something like that bonds you, you know?
Yeah.
It's something about the
Yeah.
particles. Thank you so much. Sonia, what was yours?
Oh man.
I know.
I was like even barely part of this moment, but because Rogan and I drove in every day and drove back to where we were staying every night, um, Rogan often went home with all of his like bruise makeup on. So we stopped by a gas station and he goes in completely forgetting that he looks like he does. And he comes out and he's like, "Yeah, I got some pretty good looks." So it's like I wasn't even part of that moment, but it's a moment that I will like remember forever because it was like I wish that I could have been there. And it's so funny to think about it. Like I think him and I had a pretty good laugh at that. And then yeah, that was a pretty good moment. But I guess kind of the cop-out answer is the most fun moments for me was meal times because meal
Mm.
times was a time where we all kind of dropped like the responsibilities of the filming portions of the day. And we all sat there and we laughed a lot and we just ate some really good food. And it was just, yeah, it was just a time, or you could go off on your own. But I feel like that time together was so critical and it was so important as a team, just the fact that we could laugh, like, we just beat up Rogan in a barn for 5 hours and now we're all laughing together. And it's just, yeah, it was just, that's one of my favorite memories is just all of the times that we got to just laugh together. Cause yeah, we laughed a whole lot on this set, which is I'm really, really proud of that. That's the environment that we were able to create.
I agree. Yeah. For me, it was when I switched hats and started acting. And I wanted to eat food in a scene. And the whole time I was thinking, as somebody who's edited a lot of stuff and shot a lot of things, like eating's the rudest thing that somebody can do. And I don't know why, but like it was just like the character. I just felt like, like and I got a crunch at a very dramatic moment. And I think I almost broke everyone on set. And we had to try to like I don't know if you remember that, but I think that we did in one moment we just laughed because we kept like looking at each other. And when you've been shooting and working for a certain amount of days in a row, like there are times when you're laughing about nothing. And it was really like a pretzel. Like I was eating a pretzel and I just couldn't bring myself back down. I was just like, all right, this is a serious moment, Leanne.
That when you
But
threatened with the laps around the house if you
y-
guys didn't
yeah, because I think it was John Mark. It was I had to look at him and do something. And every time I looked over at him, he was his normal face. It killed
That's
me. I
hilarious.
was like, I can't
John
look.
Mark.
in the eyes and not laugh a little bit for whatever reason right now. So for me, that was a moment that stuck out right next to when all three of us, when we were leaving, like we looked out the window and we had a debate whether we should do that at the beginning, like at the first scene, or like do it on the second scene or something like that. And in editing, like in post, you can't even tell that we like looked and made a weird face. Like really, like you'd have to really know that's what we did. But on the day, we thought it was so funny. We were like, let's ruin a shot because we have the time. Like, what a stupid thing. But it was a lot of fun. Um, and I truly wasn't thinking at all like anybody but an actor during those moments, uh, which was fun for me because I'm always thinking about the post stuff. And it was like a time when I didn't, and I was just like, what a hoot. No wonder these guys have so much fun and get the colored
Actors have
M&Ms.
actors all have all the fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so for our final pillar, we have learning. And so I wanted to ask you guys two questions, and we'll start with what is something that you learned during this process, uh, either personally or professionally?
I can start with the one thing that I think that we probably collectively learned too is to check on local events before trying to book people for a film shoot because we encountered, I think, two or three different events on the same weekend that we were trying to shoot on. And the only reason why we were able to get done what we did is because Rogan is not local and he had nowhere else to be. So that was lovely. But, I mean, we made it through. We managed to get everything done. But that was, I think, one of the challenges that will stick out in my mind is that we had a very hard time scheduling because of Bear Creek Folk Fest going on and then a couple of other not-for-profit based events when a lot of our volunteers were volunteers for other organizations. So yeah, so that was an adventure.
That's fantastic. Sonia?
Yeah, this might sound bad, but I think I learned kind of piggybacking off of that is that there are times where you can be too accommodating for people while also trying to, um, yeah, well, that wasn't going to come out right. You can be too accommodating. There are times where, if somebody does commit to something, maybe you should force them to do their commitment instead of, because I know that for that weekend we had to rearrange, like trying to nail down that shooting schedule was a nightmare because whoever wasn't going to be there. And yes, of course it was very helpful that Rogan was there every day, but there was still like those weekend days if we didn't have to be nice and accommodate some of these people who couldn't be there, it would have made our shooting lives a little bit easier. So there is a time to be accommodating, but then there is also a time where, these are the dates that you're shooting. If you can't be there, we might have to look somewhere else. And
Mhm.
it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable even saying that, but it's when we only have so much time, we only have so much
Mhm.
money. You have to really balance absolutely everything. So being accommodating, but looking at the wider picture, I guess, is kind of what I learned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's well said. Actors definitely make a movie, and having the right one cast, it changes everything. Um, but for me, I would say the thing that I learned was now obviously there's a lot of things, but life doesn't stop, nor does it slow down, nor does it care what you have in your commitments. And so when you're thinking about taking on a project like this, like for me personally, like I had people pass away in my life during the process of this, and you still have to be able to balance these things because there are a lot of people involved in the project. So you have to, and it's one of those weird things where it's like plan for the worst, like hope for the best. But
Mhm.
we're all fairly young here. So for some of us, it's the first time we're going, yeah, I know, right? The first time we're going through some of those things. So me personally, that was a big lesson was when something happens and it's right before. Like I'm not saying if I dropped out right before the movie that it wouldn't have happened, but it wouldn't have been ideal. And so there were certain things in my life where I had to push through all of that stuff and try to really focus on the film. And I guess it's not so much what I learned. It was something that it's now a skill I feel like I have, which is being able to put certain things in certain boxes. And some people aren't for that. And if you're the type of person who's like, if something is happening, I need to deal with that before I deal with anything else. I wouldn't personally recommend getting deep into being a major part in a huge project because you need to be able to put that stuff aside appropriately to be able to move forward effectively and still be a part of a team. And I know life happens, but like when you're at work and stuff and somebody passes away, you can take the time off. If somebody gets diagnosed with an illness, you can be like, ah, boss, I need a moment on, but not when you're about to shoot something. So that's what I learned in this process is like how to effectively do that a little bit more. I wouldn't want anyone to have to do it, but it's something that you do learn that you have to be able to do because there are more people involved in this and you have to keep going. And sometimes that's hard because everyone has
Mhm.
lives and everyone has things that they're doing and families and different stuff. So when you're starting something like this, keep that kind of stuff in mind and give other people grace because everyone is going through stuff 2 years, 3 years, who knows how long this process is going to be for distribution for like all the different things. And you have
Mhm.
to be able to keep trucking forward because you owe it to the actors, the crew, the volunteers, to everyone. And it feels at times like some pressure, you know? So, and you want to still have fun because that's the point of doing it. And making the movies is to enjoy the process and to learn from the process. So, I think being able to have those boxes is healthy as long as you are dealing with them properly. Um,
Yes, I agree, having emotional and physical outlets, even outside of film, yeah, ways to compartmentalize and deal with that stuff is definitely a learned skill. It's not something that you're born with. And when you're, in the pro industry in somewhere like Calgary or Vancouver, I mean, if somebody got hit by a bus, they would be able to find a replacement. But when it's something like this, where we're all wearing six different hats, like one person becomes a lifeline. And so that's very, very difficult to deal with the loss of a teammate when they are such a huge part of the production in the indie world.
with that in mind, like keeping like we lost our cinematographer. He's alive.
Mm.
We didn't lose him. He had to make a different commitment because of course this is a low budget film and we weren't going to pay him that much, if at all. And he got an offer to do another thing. Actually, if you listen to our other podcast, you'll know it was Jesse and we spoke about it.
Shameless
And
plug.
right? And we had to pivot, and luckily we landed with Lawrence, who's fantastic and fit right in and did a crap ton of work in a short amount of time, but like a pivotal person. And we lost them about a month and a half before shooting. Um,
Mhm.
and it was like or 2 months. It was about 2 months, but regardless, it was one of those things. Have a plan if you think like especially if it's a low budget film. Um, there is a chance, a small chance, that other things might be happening with the people. And if you can't actually afford to pay people a lot, don't get mad if they have to leave. Like, don't do any of those things. Just be happy that they gave you 2 months notice and that they're still gonna edit your film for you. But just to move on to the next section because we're running out of time and we could talk forever. Is we're going to do the final stretch. We're going to take the budget section kind of out of this. I think that we spoke a little bit about it. We wanted a $40,000 budget. We only ended up with about a 25,000 budget. Sonja, tell us a little bit about the grant process, and then we'll move on to the final stretch and the premiere section.
Well, grants are not a fun process. Like they're not, it's a type of creativity that is soul sucking, and I hated every minute of it. But We applied for the Alberta Foundation for the Arts grant, and we received, I believe it was $12,000 to be able to fund some of our actors' pay, which was absolutely critical in um, being able to then, I guess, sidetrack slightly. We had a hard time casting our lead actor. There's just not a lot of, we just couldn't find the right actor. So part of the problem is like when you're not paying people. Not a lot of people want to come up to Grand Prairie for, 2 weeks to have this huge commitment. So we got the grant and we were able to put out a casting call into Edmonton, which is how we snagged Rogan and convinced him to come up there. But yeah, the grant was successful, which was, I've written a lot of grants and I'm never successful. So that was a huge surprise. And I think that it gives your project some legitimacy when a grant, like, because it was from the government of Alberta, they saw there was legitimacy in what we were asking for, in what we were doing, and in this project. So it gives you, yeah, it bolsters your project to then be able to ask for more from other people. Look who else is giving us money. Almost nobody else did, but the idea is there. So that was a really good get for us.
Just as a fun note, where did Rogan stay when he came into town?
At Amy's house.
Yeah. Having flexible actors was amazing. We didn't have the budget for a hotel, although we did canvas for one. We did go around and we asked hotels if they could sponsor, and we did try to do different discounts. But Rogan was very chill and was like, I'm just really excited to act and do the things. And we were able to pay him. So that was really nice. But it was a hurdle. I think I was a little worried. I was like, what if he doesn't want to stay with a crew member who lives in Grand Prairie? Like,
What if we didn't have a crew member offer their house to him?
Yeah.
Because that was huge in the process too. It's, yeah, everything builds on everything else. One success builds into many, and it's ultimately a miracle that anything ever gets filmed ever. I love it.
I agree. And I do feel like there was quite a bit of snowball. It was just like one after another of just gracious individuals being like, I will sacrifice my comfort for the greater good. And they were like, sorry, what are you filming? And it was just like, oh, see, like, like people were just so willing to help, which was amazing. But I want to ask some questions. Sonja,
Yes.
Jessica, where are we right now with the film?
I think Jessica.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess I can take the first bite of that. So I have just completed well, technically it's the first pass because I just delivered the post dialogue, but it's more like the third or fourth because I've been going back through slowly and adjusting things as I discover the nuances of the program that I'm working with. But right now, it's basically dialogue mixing, and I just got through essentially the doctoring. So almost everything is done there. I have a couple of sections of ADR or recording vocals of local cast members to fill in some of the gaps where we're missing dialogue. And I think that there's just one that I had a concern about. Everything else is pretty good. There's again, I don't have to go into that, but next steps, I suppose, is adding sound effects and laying over our musicians' music, who is Adam, who's local, who's also fabulous, and who composed everything. So yeah, that's really exciting. So I get to lay that in there and make sure that everything sounds nice and crisp and add some little extras, and then I think that that's really it for my side. Is just the final mix and then passing it back to you guys to listen to and give me feedback, and then adjust from there.
Yeah, and
Thank you. Oh,
sorry, just cut you right off. I think we're hoping to get it 100% done by June 7th. Is
Yes, I
that
believe that was the date that we talked about. It's still in
Leanne's
that's still
not
in the
back
realm of
till
possibility.
June 9th, so you got till the 9th.
June
Okay.
10th?
June
And
content.
Thinking about that.
But if
Content.
you can email it and people can listen to it, but I will be not putting it together till the 9th or 10th when I'm back in Grand Prairie. But then I'll send it promptly to you. And what just came in, Sonja?
What just came in?
Yeah, you sent the movie in to have it rated.
Oh, sorry. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking
I
about.
don't know why
We
I'm being weird about it.
Surprise!
Yeah, we just got our movie rated by the government of Alberta, and it came back as a PG rating, which I'll be honest, I was a
Cool.
bit surprised about,
I
but
was
I
too.
take it.
Me too.
I was
It,
expecting
it
PG-13 at the very least.
Yeah, just because of the language.
Yeah.
You guys read it's online if anyone wants to read the like reasoning behind why it's PG. But yeah, no, it talks about the language and I thought I read and I thought I knew all about how they were going to be rating it. So this is I know nothing, it turns out. I don't understand, but I will not question it because now we can put it up in schools and welcome the children to come watch it at our premiere.
Yeah, I'm thrilled because how like our youngest actor, how
I
old
think
is she?
she's 13.
Okay, yeah. So it's very thrilling to be able to have her there. Easily. She could go on her own. Uh, wait. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and other than that, yeah. So just what are the emotions leading up to the premiere? How are we feeling? It's been a lot of prep. There's been a lot going in. Sonia's been doing a lot of the event planning. She's been leading the premiere event as well as doing a lot of the social media posts. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of emotions. But let's talk on the premiere date. How are you going to be I don't know why I'm clapping.
Because it's exciting, because you should be excited, because this is something that we can say that we did. We did this together. We made a feature film, and how many filmmakers out there are sitting there saying, how should I do this? Maybe I should, like, there's so many people not doing this right now. And we did it. And it
We
was a lot
did.
of hard work. And it was like, and now we're here. And it like, and we did it. And we have a movie and we got grants and we got locations. We got some sponsors. Like, this is stuff that's like huge. And everybody contributed. And I'm so excited to finally get to share this with people because, like I've seen it. You guys have seen it. Not a lot of people have seen it, but there are people who contributed, like our actors, have not seen this thing yet. And
I've seen it so many
I just
times.
wanted, I know, maybe I'll skip it. I've seen it so.
No, you're not allowed.
I'm not
I
ever going to skip this. Like, anyways, I could go on forever. I am thrilled. I'm excited. I can't wait to see everybody at this premiere.
I would like to know how you think you're going to react to being in a theater a filled theater. Get your tickets. They're on sale June 18th at the Grand Prairie Theater. Correction. Uh, I keep saying
Douglas J. Cardinal.
thank you. I was like, there's so many theaters. This is no longer the small town I'm from with one theater. Sorry. How are you gonna feel sitting there?
I think my heart's going to be beating really fast because, like, my family's going to be at there and like people I know are going to know that this is what I've just made because there's some things in there that maybe they don't appreciate, but also I don't know if I care about that, but it's going to be my heart's going to be pounding and I'm going to be certain that everyone can hear it, but I think that once because we're going to go up for a little speech. I think that I'll be absolutely shaking, but I'm still, excitement is still the absolute number one feeling that I'm going to be hopefully experiencing.
Thank you. Jessica?
Oh, same. I mean, I'm probably going to be sitting there very attunely listening to the audio and going, oh man, I could have done that better. I could have adjusted that. Oh man, why did I do? Yeah, it's going to be one of those. But I mean, no matter what film I've been a part of, I've always done that, regardless of whether I was an actor, whether I was, recording sound, whether I was producing. Like, I'm always very judgmental of my own work. Um, but honestly, I feel like I'm with Sonja. I'm extremely proud of everybody that came out to help with this, that the fact that so many people were willing to put in their time and their effort and yeah, just do something wild up in the Peace Country like this. And, it gives local people opportunities that they wouldn't normally have had. So I'm just very grateful, and I think that that's how I'll be feeling on the day is just yeah, just excited and also I'll be ready to sleep for like 3 months.
I am very excited, but I think there's an added layer of being an actor in the movie, where I'm a little nervous. I'm gonna have a hard time not sweating out of my clothes. Like I've watched myself on the screen, like it's fine most of the time, but like a feature length, like. It's weird to think of your ass being that big on the screen, you know? I'm just kidding. No, it's a weird feeling to be in a theater with a bunch of strangers and a bunch of people who you know and love. I don't know. On the crew side of things, insanely proud of everything that everyone was able to do with the equipment. I think the quality of the film that we put out with everything that we had is top notch. So that like it's gonna be a mix of like so much anxiety of people like hearing me and like seeing me on the screen, but then like a lot of pride in the team on what was able to be pulled off. Because you're right, there's not a lot of people who can say that they were able to do it, and we did it. It's done. Everything is going to be out there on the screen, and at the end, we're going to sit there and we could talk to people who are film enthusiasts in the Peace region who are maybe one day going to make a feature film, whomever they may be. And so with that, we are like time is done. Is there any final comments or things that people would like to say before we do the wrap up? Because I had like three more things, but we spent a lot of time talking about different things that I didn't account for, which always happens. So I'm going to just drop those. Do we have any comments?
No, I think we covered it all.
Yeah, I think that thank you for heading this, Leanne. I think that this is going to be a really great, hopefully a really great resource and educational to some people that are looking into, the details of what it takes to kind of take this on because it is a lot, and I know that we only really scratched the surface, but
I think
having a place to start is a place to start.
I agree. And I mean, just to bookend it, Sonia and I met in Prima, a local film place here in Grand Prairie, but it's also in the Peace region. That's how I met Jesse. That's how I met Lawrence. Um, that's how I met pretty much everyone because I met David through Jesse. So almost every single crew member who worked on this film we found through Prima. A lot of that is getting out and getting involved in the community and showing up for
Networking.
events. Like, even like I've been filming for a while. Like, you're never too good or like all these different things. Like, if you want to learn and network and you want to meet new people, like I met a writer and a director who was willing to partner for however many years we'll be doing this and be able to go through and make a movie. And we did that right here locally. Um, and then all the other steps that happened. Which is pretty heckin' beautiful, everyone. Pretty heckin' beautiful. Check out Prima, big plug. They're also sponsoring this Zoom session. So, without further ado, these are around town. They've been like we've gone around and put them up places. This is where wait. This is where you can find tickets. But I'm gonna do my post thing. I'm just gonna put it on the screen so that I can read it out. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this journey with us. Making this film has been one of the most challenging and rewarding things that we've done, and I can say that for all of us, knowing every single thing about everybody's lives. And we couldn't be more excited to finally share it with you in the theaters. If you've laughed with us, if you've learned something new, or if you felt inspired by our story, we'd love for you to take the next step and come to our premiere. It's June 18th. Bring a friend, support local indie filmmaking, and see what 2 years of hard work, hustle, and heart looks like. You can find all of our premiere details on our Facebook, on our website, and where else can we find all of our details? Facebook, website,
That's it.
Instagram,
posters.
yeah.
And if you like this episode, share it with some friends and tell them about our movie. Until next time, keep making cool stuff, and we'll see you June 18th.